once again for joining us. After the talk, we'll be serving the Prashad next. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Testing. Is it?
It's fine.
Hello?
Hare Krishna.
I don't hear any.
Hare Krishna.
Oh. I don't know if the amplification is working.
It's too far away. It should be around here.
Hello, testing. Okay, it works. Thank you. This is Parth Prabhu. He's a very intelligent scientist and very humble devotee who helps at the temple. Thank you for all of you coming to the Sunday Love Feast. And the first feast that we have is on the altar with the deities. It's just like a feast for the eyes. ISKCON has it has the highest standard of deity worship of any organization in the world, except there's one temple I think that has the highest is Tirupati, and they worship everything with solid gold, and the temple's also made of solid gold. But other than that, the ISKCON temples, and if you go to the temples in India, they have very elaborate flowers, but in America, they're very expensive. Like if you've been to the grocery store, they're very expensive. So in all the temples in North America, Boston Temple has one of the most opulent flowers, thanks to Muktavanya Prabhu. He arranges for over $5,000 worth of flowers per month. And we have very expert pujaris who do very elaborate and artistic decoration. We have on Sunday morning, we have Premanandani Mataji, who dresses Radha Gopi Vallabh, Induleka Mataji, who was serving Radha Gopi Vallabh for over 25 years, dresses the Chota Radha Krishna. You have to go really close because she does very intricate turban on the small Radha Krishna. We have Hemeshwara Prabhu, who's the head pujari, dressed Gaurnitai, and I believe today Vanamali Prabhu dressed Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra. He's very enthusiastic, working job, also getting up from Mangalarti, doing the deity worship. He does a lot of yoga, so he has a lot of energy. And so continuing with the theme this last month of glorifying Lord Ram, because we just can't get enough of Ramayan, we're going to do a little bit more talk on Ramayan. Actually, the Valmiki, Prabhupada said that the Valmiki Ramayan is the authorized Ramayan. So all the stories we have from today are from the Valmiki Ramayan. We'll just start with a little bhajan in glorification of Lord Ram. I would like to also thank Ishvar Prabhu for a very beautiful kirtan earlier. Radha Jivana, he's initiated. Yes, we know him for a long time as Ishvar, but his initiated name, he took initiation from Naranjan Maharaj. So Radha Jivana is his initiated name. My name is Sankirtan Dasi. I'm a disciple of Hare Krishna Maharaj. My sister is Hare Krishna. My mother, Shanti Sanandana Dasi. My sister and I, we both were trained by Mother Irma and her Gurukul. We did Bhakti Sastri training. We were very fortunate that some people, they maybe only get a little association with their guru, but we were very fortunate that we had personal training for about 10 years with our guru, that we got to hear from him daily, learn the mood of how to serve Prabhupada's mission. And also we got training from many Prabhupada disciples. Mother Irmala on philosophy, speaking debate, how to give a lecture. Mother Tulsi, who's one of the renowned early book distributors. And Mother Krishna Priya, who actually just passed this last year. We got to get training from her in the mood of deity worship. And she was Shiksha Guru actually to many hundreds of devotees. And so anything I'm saying is just from what I've learned from my many gurus. Thank you. Ragupati Raghav Rajara Patita Pamana Pitara Patita Pamana Sitaram Jaya Sitaram Sitaram Jaya Sitaram Sitaram Jaya Sitaram 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 Ram Ram Sitaram 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 Pati Ragava Radharam Pati Bhavana Vicharam Pati Radharam Pati Bhavana Vicharam Sitaram 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 So far, the king, Jai, Shishi Ram Hagoki Bangla King, Jai. Om Jnana Tamarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmulidandena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance. My spiritual master opened my eyes with a torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Itanamane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Kulgrivani Pastyatari Shatadine Namahaksa Nikashaya Prabhupada Priyayate Sudridha Shavinastamyam Tasya Vakinavarane. So Ram is one of the incarnations or avatars of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna is a form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he has different expansions like Baladev and also different expansions of Ram. Lakshman is also an incarnation of God, and so are the brothers Bharata and Shatrughna. I am not an incarnation of God, and you are also not an incarnation of God, but we are part and parcel of God. We are eternal, and we are servants of Krishna. So Krishna, why does he appear in this material world? He appears to protect the devotees, to annihilate the miscreants, and protect the religious principles. We have a beautiful verse many of you are familiar with from Bhagavad Gita 4:7 and 4:8. We can sing together. Yada yada idasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham paritranaya sampunam vinashaya taduskritam dharma samstapanartaya sambhavi yuge yuge. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharat, and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself to deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to reestablish the principles of religions. I myself appear millennium after millennium. So this is some of the reasons why Krishna appears in his different incarnations. But then there is a fourth reason why Krishna appears. He appears to be in the mood of the devotee and to enjoy different rasas. So one way that Lord Ram, many people call Ram the perfect king, Ram Raj, and his kingdom actually went all over the world. It wasn't just in India. Bhartavarsha at one time was the whole Earth planet. And one way that Ram, he was very fair. He gave the example of Ekapatni Vrata, just having one wife. There's sometimes there's some naughty boy, and he will say he likes to flirt with the different girls, and he will say, "Well, Krishna had many wives." But that is not the example of Ram. He had the Ekapatni Vrata, or the one wife. And also, polygamy is illegal, and we do not practice that. And Ram was very fair to everyone, whether it was a dog eater, or a brahmana. And he would anyone who had a complaint, it didn't matter if they were very rich or if they had high status or low status. And one time a dog came to the palace, and he came to the door, and he was like, "Ruff, ruff." And Ram told Lakshman, "See who that is, somebody has come to see me." And Lakshman said, "It's just a dog." And he said, "Well, bring him in. He has something to say." So the dog came in and was like, "Ruff, ruff, ruff, ruff. The Brahmana beat me." And he said, "What? That is not very nice that the Brahmana beat you." So then he said, "Bring in the Brahmana." So they brought the Brahmana, and the Brahmana confessed that, "Yes, I did beat the dog with a stick, but I didn't get enough to eat, so I was very hungry. And you know how it is, some people, when they don't get enough to eat, they get angry with hunger." But Lord Ram said, "No, you are Brahmana, you are supposed to control your senses, so you must be punished." And Ram said, "Let me think, what would be a good punishment for you?" And he said, "I know, I will make you temple president. You will have a lot of headaches. This will be a good punishment for you." But some people were thinking, how is that a punishment? And they said, you see that dog? The dog in his last life, he was temple president. Now he's a dog. You see, it's a very difficult position. So in that way, he even gave justice to the dog because Ram was equal to everyone, and all the residents felt safe to take shelter of Ram, even the dogs. So these are external in this verse, yada yada hidharmasya, these are the external reasons why Krishna appears as Ram, Lakshman, Bharata, Shatrughna. But then there's the internal reason why Krishna appears. And in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is described that Lord Chaitanya wanted to relish the mood of Radharani. He wanted to enjoy like the devotee. So just like we're here in the kirtan and there's a beautiful dressing of Radha Gopi Vallabh, Gauranitai, Chota Radha Krishna, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra, and we just get to drink in the beauty of the deities and the kirtan. But Krishna, he has to stay on the altar and he just has to like stand there and we get to dance and Krishna just has to stand on the altar. So sometimes the devotee, he's thinking the devotee's enjoying more than me. And he wants to be in the kirtan and he wants to sway back and forth and swing around and jump in the air and go. And so Lord Chaitanya appeared like a devotee so that he could enjoy like a devotee and be in the mood of Radharani. And when we have the Rasa Yatra that Vadamali Prabhu so nicely organizes, then we will all get to really enjoy just dancing and singing in the street and feasting and having very nice prasadam. So sometimes Krishna also wants to enjoy like this. So Ram, he got to enjoy different rasas. So my guru, Birkisha Maharaj, he is like a scholar of Ramayan, and he reads Valmiki Ramayan. It's like 4 volumes, and he reads it again, then he reads it again, reads it again. So he knows all the little intricate stories. So basically, I just learned from him. So some of the different rasas which are described in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the Nectar of Devotion by Rupa Goswami. So in the Hare Krishna movement, we are Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Vaishnavas, and we are in the mood of Srila Rupa Goswami, one of the 6 Goswamis. So if you like to learn a little bit more the mood of a devotee, you can read Nectar of Devotion. And so these rasas, they come from the Nectar of Devotion. So some of the different rasas Krishna likes to enjoy are different rasas of the devotees. There's the Shanta ras, where you're like appreciating the servant, the Dasya ras of servitude, the friendship rasa, the parental rasa, and the conjugal rasa. And Krishna likes to enjoy all of these different rasas in his pastimes. And then, but if you want to have like a really nice sambar dal, you put a lot of flavors and a lot of different spices. So there's 7 different spices or indirect rasas and describe. And some of those rasas are anger, anxiety, ghastliness. So in the Ramayana, Lord Ram cuts off the head of Kumbhakarna. And do you think when he cuts it off, it just goes neat? No, it is not neat. The blood spurts high up into the air and really messy, just like splattering everyone. And it's very ghastly. So this is the ghastly rasa. And if any of you might have seen the Mahavatar Nrsimha movie, in some countries that you could only watch it with a parental guidance because of the ghastliness. And in the Mahaavatar Nrsinga, Nrsingadev takes the intestines from Hiranyakashipu and puts it around him. And Nrsingadev was really enjoying, he likes to have the fight. So just like the World Cup, everybody's coming from all over the world and they want to see the fights and they want to see him running up here, running down. And then they have, I don't know, all the different games like the football, and everybody wants to see the fights. So Krishna also likes to have a really good fight, and not just like a little piddly fight, like an all-out fight, like really ghastly with very talented warriors. Are there any Spanish devotees here today? Oh, you know some Spanish, right? And so in the Spanish, they're famous for the telenovelas, and they're so dramatic, so much emotion. So the Ramayan is like the most intense telenovela you've ever heard of. It's just so much tragedy and anxiety, and oh my God. And Krishna likes to experience this. Krishna is a very emotional a person, and he wants to experience all these intense emotions. It's such a tragedy. So first, Dasarath wants to have four children, but he's having trouble to have the four children. But at that time, they did not do IVF or this or that. They would go to a Muni, and the Muni would do a sacrifice, and then the women would take the prasad from the sacrifice, and that's how they would have all the children. And so that's how he begot Lord Ram, Lakshman, Bharata, and Shatrughna. But they had a lot of difficult time. They had to have for this particular sacrifice, it needed to be performed by a Muni who had never seen a woman. But how is that possible? Because usually as a child, you're going to see the mother, probably your grandmother, the nurse, your teachers, a lot of women. So how is it that someone could never see a woman their whole life? Well, there was such a Muni. His name was Rishi Shrina. And when his mother wanted to have a relationship with the king just sent her a little packet of his seed. And she was frustrated and just threw it into the forest. And so then he was raised by the animals in the forest. So he never saw a woman. And he became a misogynist against women and said he doesn't want any woman where he is in the forest. We also have some people like that in ISKCON, and they say we don't want any woman to initiate. So we also have some people like that, a little bit imbalanced, but he was needed to do the fire yajna. There's actually somewhere, I believe it's in Turkey, there's a mountain range of monks, and it's illegal for any woman to go there. So some places are like that. So then Dasarath was so happy. He had his four beautiful boys. But then after some time, Vishvamitra takes away Ram and Lakshman to train them, and Dasarath was very sad. But then they did come back a little bit later, and he felt some joy. Then Ram marries Sita, and everyone was very happy. And at that time, they had very talented astrologers. So there was an astrological reading, and the astrologers told Dasarath that the kingdom is going to be in calamity. And whatever changes you need to do them immediately. So he decided we need to immediately enthrone Lord Ram. And but Bharata and Shatrughna were not even there. But because of the astrological advice, Ram agreed to be enthroned even before Bharata and Shatrughna came back to the palace. But then there was Manthara. She was the hunchback, and she influenced Kaikeyi. So at that time, Dasarath had more than one wife, and Kaikeyi was the youngest. And Manthara, but don't be upset with Manthara, because this was part of the pastime. A pastime, it's like a play. And when we're young, we love to do different plays and different play acting. And sometimes the kids like to play cops and robbers. One time when I was young, I asked my sister, do you want to play cowboys and Indians? And she said, sure. And I said, but then I'll have to tie you up. And she's like, okay. And I was like, so I tied her up and I put her in the closet. And then I went away to play. My father came home. He was very upset that I had tied up my sister and put her in the closet. But sometimes children, they like to play different games. So Lord Ram, he also likes to come and they have different pastimes. So Mantra influenced Kaikeyi that why Ram should be on the throne. Your own son, Bharth, should be on the throne. And so that Ram is in the way, you should tell your husband Dasarath to banish him to the Dandaka forest for 14 years. Because at one time, Kaikeyi saved the life of Dasarath, so she had an unused boon. And she said, this is how you're going to do it. You're going to go to the crying room and just make a big drama. So at that time, the kings always had a crying room for the women. And they would cry there and then go when they were upset. And so Kaikeyi was like crying and crying with really big tears in the angry crying room. Kaikeyi was the youngest wife, and Dasarath had a soft spot for her. You can see that polygamy is a problem because he had 4 sons, but by 4 different queens. And so then it caused an issue. So that's one reason we do not practice polygamy. So then Ram was banished to the forest for 14 years, and Dasarath dies from the grief. He just couldn't take it. I mean, it just sounds so horrible. And then Bharata and Shatrughna weren't even there. When Bharata comes back to the palace, he just is like, what? You banished my brother Ram? Like, Bharat just like worshipped Ram and loved Ram. And he said, please don't listen to them. Just come back, return to the throne. And Ram refuses. So Bharata, he, out of his loyalty and love for Ram, he dug a hole and he slept. So he would be below the ground level because Ram and Sita and Lakshman were going to be just sleeping on the ground on the leaves. And so out of loyalty, Bharat wanted to sleep below the ground. But we also see that Ram was very loyal to his stepmother, Kaikeyi, that he wanted to obey her. So he didn't want to go. He could just say, she's having an emotional breakdown. She's a silly lady, and we don't want to mess up the whole kingdom just because she's having some emotional problem. But he listened to her out of respect and loyalty, and they went to the Dandaka forest for 14 years. And then in the forest, Sita is kidnapped. I mean, it's just one bad thing after another. And Ram is so upset, he wants to destroy the entire planet. And Ram has to kill Bali, and Sita is so upset. She's sitting under the Ashok tree and is crying and crying. But it was not only Sita that cried, Ram also cried. He would walk through the forest and see the beautiful spring flowers growing on the tree that Sita loved, and he would cry, thinking of her. So we see that Ram was experiencing this Vipralamba Seva, this intense separation, like just like the full emotion, like it's just so intense, and you're just like, why? And then finally they come back to Ayodhya, and everyone is so happy, and he again takes the throne. But then when he takes the throne, there's a washerman, and the washerman talks ill of Sita, that Sita is not pure because she was touched by Ravana, and she's not a chaste wife, and she's not, it's not proper for her to be the queen. And Ram saw that it was going to be very bad if the washerman were to spread this, and they would have a bad name. And even though Sita was his eternal consort, he wanted to have equal treatment of everyone, whether they were a Brahmana, a dog, or even his own wife, the queen. And he sent Sita away. Actually, a devotee does not like, we also have emotion, and a devotee does not like to hear about how Sita was taken away. So usually we don't talk about it. So if you feel like throwing a tomato at me and running out, that would be the proper mood to have. But please don't throw a tomato at me. But devotees don't like to hear about how Sita was sent away. And she was pregnant. She went to the ashram of Vishvamitra Muni, and she had 2 boys. Eventually, they did go back to the palace, and the boys, they learned Ramayana. It was like a beautiful poem, and they recited it as a song to Lord Ram. But then they became angry with Lord Ram. You sent away our mother. Like, what type of a father are you? And Lord Ram at one point was doing the Rajasuya sacrifice, and his own boys destroyed the sacrifice. And eventually he did send Sita to come back to him. So the period of the Ramayana, this was actually millions of years ago. And at that time, people lived longer. But because Lord Ram is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and Sita is actually Lakshmi Devi, they never became old. They didn't get like gray hair or thinning hair or any balding. But he was separated from Sita for 60,000 years. And at that time period, he had a deity of Sita Devi. And so he was experiencing this intense separation, just getting to look at the deity of Sita Devi. And it wasn't that Sita was just his wife in this lifetime, but Sita is actually his eternal consort, Lakshmi Devi. At one time, there sometimes were also some problems that Lakshman had with Ram. Lakshman was the younger brother of Ram, so he was always obedient. And sometimes Lakshman didn't like the instructions of Ram. And so that's why he vowed that in later incarnations that he would always be the older brother, so he wouldn't have to listen. And so Balaram's actually older than Krishna, and Nityananda is also older than Lord Chaitanya. He's the older brother. Actually, our Balaram deity on the altar is very mischievous. Did you know he likes to throw his jewelry off? But it's not that it just falls off, because different devotees, we've been chanting our japa, and we notice it's not like the jewelry just drops off, it like propels, it goes like out, like he literally throws it off. So sometimes he likes to be kind of naughty and remind you that, I'm the older brother. It's not just all about Jagannath Baladev. I'm the older brother here. Um, so sometimes Lakshman was very subservient to Ram. And one time Durvasa Muni came to see Ram. It's kind of strange because Ram, he would give audience to the dog. But when Durvasa Muni came to see Ram, and Lakshman said, Durvasa Muni has come to see you. Ram said, no, I will not see him. But then Durvasa Muni said, I will destroy this entire earth planet if you don't let me come in. And so Lakshman's like, all right, just come in. And because he did not obey and he went against his order and let Durvasa Muni come in, Ram banishes Lakshman. Lakshman, Ram and Lakshman are inseparable. Lakshman was like his shadow wherever he went. When Ram went to the Devika forest for 14 years, Lakshman went with them. And now he just banished Lakshman. And then when it was time for Ram to leave this world, he told all the residents of the palace to go together and enter the Suraya River, and all of us will go together back to Godhead. But he said, Hanuman, you can't come. Who loves Ram more than Hanuman? Nobody. One time, someone said, well, let's prove to me how much you love Lord Ram. And Hanuman, you might see this deity in India where Hanuman rips open his chest and there's Ram and Sita are there like in his chest. So he was the best servant of Ram. And Ram said, you can't go back with me back to Godhead. You have to stay here. I guess you can chant Hare Krishna or Ram, 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 Ram. And he gives him a deity of Ram, Sita, and Lakshman. And later on, he gave that deity to Madhvacharya. And actually, Hanuman still resides in the Himalayan mountains, even to this day, millions of years later. But you can only see him if you're a pure, if you are a devotee, a very pure devotee of Hanuman. So that was also very sad. He said everybody could go back to Godhead with him, but not Hanuman. So there's a lot of sadness in the Ramayana, and it's very intense. And it's not nice. I think maybe it's not nice. Do you think it's not nice? Actually, no, it is nice because these are pastimes where Krishna is enjoying. Lord Ram is enjoying this intense mood of separation. He's actually experiencing ecstasy. And actually, at one time, like in India, they didn't have television, and like every evening in different neighborhoods, the people would come together, and like almost every night they would be enacting Ramayan. And I mean, it's if it's just like very mellow, it's not going to be exciting. It's because there's all of these intense things, intense emotions that millions of years later to this day, that people they cannot get enough of Ramayan. It's so exciting. So everything Ram does is to enjoy, but our activities, we're forced to do different activities by our karma and by the nature of this material world. Our activities are not pastimes. Like when we have indigestion, they have those different tablets at the Indian store. There's one that's like the sodium bicarbonate, that's not our pastime. Or when you have to go to the dentist to the tooth cleaning, it's not a pastime. Or when you have to eat those hajamolas, it's not a pastime. But everything Krishna does is for fun, or that Ram does is for fun. And also, when we have these intense emotions, if the speaker starts talking about how they're sent Sita away and you want to just throw a tomato at them, that's also connecting with Krishna and having intense emotion. When you feel so angry at Mantra that she influenced Kai to send Ram to the Dandaka forest for 14 years, and you feel so angry, that emotion brings you closer to Krishna. So these pastimes, Krishna relishes these emotions, and they also bring out emotions in his associates. And then we are also meant to become closer to Krishna, just like Lord Chaitanya shows us in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, how to serve Krishna and how to not just chant mechanically. Like we're supposed to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. That we have this like intensity that we also want to be with Krishna, that we're just left behind. We don't get to play with him. He's like on the altar, but he just stands there. So Lord Chaitanya teaches, Yugaitam nimeshena, chakshusha pravishaitam, sunyaitam jagat sarvam, govinda vedahename. My Lord Govinda, because of separation from you, I consider a moment a great millennium. Tears flow from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I see the entire world as void. Sorry, I'm getting emotional. So just like Sita Devi was crying in separation for Ram sitting under the Ashok tree, and just like Ram was crying for Sita when he saw the spring flowers, we are also meant to see, also to cry for Krishna, or also we can cry for the devotee when we see a devotee is hurt or suffering. Um, we just heard of the passing of Charu Prabhu, who was also the mentor of some of the devotees here. So when our guru or mentor passes, we're supposed to cry, just like a queen when she experiences the passing of her king, of the husband. So we are also meant to have all of these emotions in regards to other devotees. Or if somebody comes, there was one devotee in Mayapur, and somebody came in to bomb the deity, and that devotee came in front of the deity, and he lost his leg. And he's a Swami, initiating guru in ISKCON. So, or if somebody comes to threaten the movement, we can become very angry. Or we, the prayer to Prabhupada, Namaste Saraswati Deve, Gauravani Pracharane, Nirvasesha, Sunyavadi, Pastitade Shatarde. I kick in the face the Mayavadis and the impersonalists who say Krishna is not real. So when we hear the Mayavad philosophy, we feel angry. These are natural emotions. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I know we had many devotees this month talking about Lord Ram. And then next, we're gonna move into the another incarnation of Krishna. Nrsimhadev is just coming around the corner. Is there anything anyone heard in the class that you liked or remembered or stuck out to you? Gaur Prasad Prabhu?
I knew Charupu very intimately, and first classes that we had every day in Simona was the first classes that we had was on the Ramayana. And we spoke about Mother Kaikeya. Mother Kaikeya, and Prabhupada had explained this to him, that the mercy of the devotee is that the devotee will take on everything to help others to advance. And the mercy of the devotee is that the devotee will, like the last line that you read, was also spoken by Srimati Radharani. It's in the Nectar of Devotion. And Radharani says that if my pleasing you give to you joy, it gives me joy. But if you're treat me roughly and unpleasing towards me, it brings you joy. This also brings me joy. And Mother Kaikeya, Prabhupada said, was very intimately connected with Lord Ram. And she understood that he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead at an early age. And he said as a child to her that he wanted her to banish him into the forest. So this pastime would be enacted. And she didn't want to do that. But that's just what he was a little kid, you know. So she said, yeah, well, I did. But she just went on and with her life. But then later on, when the time period came, Lord Ram told her, you made this promise. And you have to fulfill this promise because you're a queen. And if you make a promise, if you're acting in an irreligious manner, the whole world will follow this example. So you have to go ahead and do it. So she did that under protest. But she did that because it was pleasing to Lord Ram. And even though he suffered the most, this is like the Gopis of Vrindavan.
Yeah.
Krishna and Balaram were there in Vrindavan. They asked the Brahmin that they said they have a headache, Prasad, can you give us some dust in your feet to get rid of the headache, you know? And then or the Brindamoni or something before they said, oh no, we're not gonna go through this. And it's like this, he got cursed, if that happened, you know, we're not gonna do that. But the Gopis of Vrindavan said, even if we have to go to hell, for your pleasure, we'll do it.
That's a really good point. Also for a devotee, if in service to the other Vaishnavas, if we take some inconvenience, that's how we can advance in Krishna consciousness. I was thinking my brother-in-law, Parmeshwar Prabhu, he's really good at researching and things. And I was thinking maybe we can ask you to research if those deities of Ram, Lakshman, Sita, that were given to Hanuman and then given to Madhvacharya. Maybe you could research if those deities still exist somewhere. I think all the devotees are waiting to eat the nice prasadam. Krishna.
Yeah, just one quick point. The lecture inspired some of from your Krishna Mahaprabhu's lectures. He also makes a point that in terms of this intense emotion that's being churned through these leelas, to also bring that into our daily practice. And we have these fantastic verses that the mood of pride and also the mood of being lost in material energy and wanting Krishna to pick us up and place us at a and like Krishna was saying in that lecture, you can take the Bhakti Shastri course and you can take the Bhakti Vaibhav course and then the Bhakti Vedanta course, and you can still just be learning a lot of verses and holding a lot of purpose and not find these in your daily practice. So to remember to be bringing our emotions, chanting.
Thank you for sharing. And I think everyone's ready to now enjoy all of the tastes and flavors of the Sunday feast. Thank you very much for your kind attention and listening. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. So let's thanks Venkatan Mataji once again. Hari Bo.